Hello. Hi, Angela here, and welcome to our live for today. Happy New Year, those of you who I've spoken to. Really pleased to see you. It's the reality of running lives and doing workout from home that just when you don't want it to, a big truck pulls up outside your house and makes a huge amount of noise. So I hope you can still hear me. And we're going to be on for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And the idea today is just to show you the sorts of workouts that we do as part of the YBMB program. Very often people ask me about this program and I explain to them that it's not just a fitness program, it's fitness for a reason. We cover the body, we cover the mind, and we cover business. And people leave the program at the end of sort of 12, 13 weeks, one season, where not only are they physically stronger, but they're mentally stronger as well because of the exercises that that I teach them. And they also have a business plan. They can start a business from scratch or else pivot their business or move forward in their career, whatever it is they want to achieve. And there's a great sort of like-minded community that we bring together on the program as well. So I thought today, because we do, on a Monday, we cover body, on a Wednesday, we cover mindset, and on a Friday, on this live show, sponsored by the YBMB program, I interview people about business. Today, being Monday, we're going to cover body, and I thought, rather than me interview somebody to start the new year, I will show you the sorts of things that we do on the YBMB program to do with body, and particularly those of you who have never done any weight training and maybe, are concerned about how to do it and how you can possibly do it from home. And, I have people that have had previous injuries or, they're afraid of sort of doing workouts and things like that because they've never done it before. I wanted to show you how we start. So the way that I start is probably quite different to most trainers, and I'm a qualified trainer now, PT, having sort of trained myself for about 4 years. But the way that I start is by explaining to people about their body. And often when you walk into a gym, you don't get sort of told about your body parts. But for me, it's absolutely critical because then there is a logic to the way that we train, and you start to understand what it is we're trying to do. See, when people come and say that they want to, lose a tummy roll, for example, or they want to work out their legs, or they want to work out their arms, it's parts of their body they don't like, I start by explaining to them that there is a big difference between what we're trying to do to lose body fat compared to build muscle. Nutrition and what you actually consume, the fuel that you consume and the quality of the food that you consume is what we use to tackle body fat, to reduce body fat. Training, weightlifting, is all about building muscle so that when you get rid of that body fat, you have a nice set of muscles underneath. The fact is that we're all sitting here now with a six-pack, but some of us just can't see it. And so it's the nutrition side that we teach on the program that reveals what's underneath, so it gets rid of the body fat. And then it's the training I'm about to show you that builds the muscle underneath, so that when you do get rid of the body fat, you have something great to show underneath. So how do we sort of break down the body? I'll explain. If you think about it, your body is made up of some sets of muscles. So you've got the big muscle groups, first of all, haven't you? You've got the chest, which is the big muscle group, the pecs. You've got the back, so you've got the lats here. So the lateral muscles, which are these ones under here. So those are big muscle groups. You've also got big muscle groups on your legs. Let's get my hair out of the way. So your quads here, your thighs. Then you have these muscle groups. So basically your hamstrings, then your bum, your glutes. So big muscle groups. So you've got 5 sort of what I call big muscle groups. You've also got your core, which is working the whole way through, your obliques, etc., your abs. And then we've got our arms. Everyone wants to have a nice arm shape, and that consists of your biceps, obviously your shoulders, and your triceps. So when we program and start to teach people to work out, basically teaching them to work every single one of those body parts. And a typical full body workout will cover all of those. So I'm going to show you a few moves now, which will work out each of those body parts. So we'll take number 1, the chest. Before I do that, I want to show you something. When you actually are working out a program, it's very good to write down what you're going to do. And as I've just explained here, here's the different body parts. And I'm always looking at, what I'm going to program, what I'm going to work before I actually start. So as I've just mentioned, we've got the chest, we've got the back, we've got the quads, we've got the hamstrings, we've got the glutes, then the shoulders, the biceps, the triceps, the abs. So normally speaking, I will work out what it is that I'm trying to train that day. So we'll take chest first of all. How do we work out chest? I'll show you a very simple way. You use a bench or you can use the floor, and you basically take a set of weights which is going to challenge your chest. I'll just take some thighs for now. And you're basically going to get yourself in a position where you can isolate your pecs, your chest muscles. So basically you go down and you really are very mindful of the way you're positioned before you start actually doing any work. So you've got an arch in your back here, you've got your feet very stable, you're squeezing your bum, you've got your shoulder blades pinned firmly to the bench or to the floor if you're doing it from the floor. And then basically you're pushing down and you're squeezing your pecs as you come up. So it's squeeze and down, squeeze and down. And then we safely come back up. What we would do for each set, we do about 10 of those reps. And we would do overall 3 sets of 10 for the one set. And that will be the chest done. Now then, we've got the other muscle groups, haven't we? So we could jump round to the back or we could go down to the legs. Normally speaking, I like to sort of alternate to give your body a chance to rest, because obviously now if you've done 3 sets of that with a heavy weight, you'd have blood rushed up here. This might be tiring a little bit. So we go down to the bottom. So now what do we do with the legs? When we're first starting, I mean, there are, lots of exercises which will isolate different parts of the legs. So a squat, or you'd be doing a deadlift. But to start off with, a simple split squat with weights will really be able to get most of the legs. So I'm going to show you here. Basically, you would be hip width apart. You put one in front of the other. And you're basically going to be descending, just so you can't see my head as well, but descending up and down like a lift. So basically, you're coming down and then up. And as you come up, squeezing your bum. So down and up. And then to make it more challenging, you're grabbing some weights, and then you're doing exactly the same thing. You've got your shoulders back and down, nice arch in your back, so nice and strong. And down and up and squeeze. Down and up and squeeze. You do 10 that side, down and up and squeeze, and then you do the same. Now, this at the beginning of your workout journey is a really good overall exercise for the legs. So like I say, eventually you'll be doing squats, deadlifts, etc. But to start off with, that's what we do for an all-over leg workout. So we do 3 sets of 10 on each side. That would be warming up the legs. And now we want to go to the top of the body again. And now we'll be looking at the back. So how do you work the back? Well, if you think about it, if you were in a gym, you'd either be doing a pull down, or you'd be doing some form of row. You'd be trying to isolate these back muscles. You can actually do this if you're at home. If you have a bench, it's great, because you can get yourself in a position where you can just isolate that butt muscle. The way you would do it is you'd arch your back, you'd put your knee and your hand on one side onto the bench, you'd arch your back, put your leg back a little bit, and then you basically put your shoulder back and down, you'd be squeezing that butt muscle. And you squeeze it hard, and you bring it down. Squeeze it hard, and bring it down. And you do 10 either side. So firstly that side, and then you would get the other side and do exactly the same. Bum out, arching your back, squeeze, and bring it down. Squeeze, and bring it down. So that's one way of working the back. Another way, if you don't have a bench, is we can do the same thing, first of all, with one arm. You just bend over, or you could even lean against the wall, and it's exactly the same move. So you don't need to have a bench, although it's easier. And if you don't want to do one side at a time, you can actually do it like that, or like that, however you prefer, probably like this. So you could squeeze, and the important thing is to squeeze those muscles. And you do 3 lots of 10. Of course, I'm only using little weights here. And you start with little weights, and then you build up. And that's what we take you through in the 13-week program. So you would have done your back. After that, so now if you think about the big muscle groups that I mentioned, we've done the chest, we've done the legs, we went to the back. And now the 5th set is the bum, wasn't it? So one of the things that I really like doing is hip thrusts. Really, really great exercise for the bum. You'll notice I've not really mentioned bands at this point. We do sometimes use bands, but much prefer to use dumbbells. And when you start, you don't need to use dumbbells. You can use, little bottles of water. You can use a rucksack. You can use tins of beans. So you don't have to have any equipment. You can do this from the floor. But what I find is once people have been with us for a few weeks, then they'll order their first set of dumbbells. Maybe they'll order a bench. But none of it's essential to start off with. But I'll show you a hip thrust quickly. So if you think about your hips here and your bum, what you're trying to do with this muscle is to squeeze it small and make it long under tension with weight. So basically, if I'm standing up, there's not really much I can do with my bum, sort of like that. But if I'm actually in a hip thrust position, I can get a lot more range of motion, as I'll show you. So here, I'll be leaning on this bench. I'll be pulling up as if the string's pulling my hips up. My heels are sort of pulled quite in. So it is definitely an exercise of the bum and not the hamstrings. And then, as you can see, I'm rocking on my heels, and I'm up and I'm squeezing. And down and up. And if you do that enough times, you start to really feel your bum muscles, your glutes. And then what you can do, you can put weight in the crease of your hip. And then you can come down and up and squeeze and down and up and squeeze. And of course, this is all leading towards a much, much heavier weight, but this is all what we do at the beginning. We teach you technique. So you work out your bum in that way. There's other ways to do that, but that's the basic move for hip thrust. So by the time we've done a few sets of those, 3 sets of chest, 3 sets of legs, 3 sets of back, 3 sets of bum, we would have now warmed up the big muscles in our body, and we would have done some work on them. And then we now can start to isolate the smaller muscles. And so this is where we start now working the arms. And we start with biceps, usually. Now biceps, obviously most people know what bicep curl is. You're sort of doing that, aren't you? And then down. And I'll just do one here, up and down. But there is a big difference, because what you'll see people who haven't been taught to do it properly is they will do that. And they'll pull it up and they swing it about. And as you can see, my elbow is moving all over the place. And I'm using momentum from my wrists and my body, and I'm not really isolating my actual bicep. Whereas what we teach is that you keep this arm as still as you can. You imagine there's a piece of paper there, and you're squeezing this muscle as hard as you can here. You're squeezing it up under tension, and then you go down and you squeeze this tricep here as well. And then you're squeezing up and you're squeezing down. So much of this is about knowing what muscle it is you're working. That's why I do this sort of the anatomy lesson, as it were. So squeezing up and squeezing down. So once we've done that, obviously that's one part of the arm, but you've got this, haven't you, the shoulders, and you've got the triceps as well. So on shoulders, a really simple exercise is to do a shoulder press. So pushing up, but not coming down and leaning it like that, because again, you're not then keeping the muscle under tension. What you want to be doing is not looking the arm out, but bringing it to about the ears. And then up and bringing it to the ears. And then up and bringing it to the ears. And we do 3 sets of 10 of that. And then we do the similar exercise, but we do it with triceps. And obviously the triceps are the weakest. We can either do it standing up, and it's like an upside down bicep curl. So we go up and squeeze, and down, and up and squeeze, and down. Or we can actually do this on the bench on the floor as well. I'll show you quickly. It's quite good to do triceps like this. So you're getting yourself on the bench, starting quite sort of not straight, but sort of a little bit lent towards your head like that. And you're bringing down onto your shoulders, but not quite touching, and bringing them up and squeezing, and down, and up and squeezing. And if you do 3 lots of 10 of that with your triceps, you can definitely feel them at the end. So that would have been most of the body now, except for the core. So let me show you two things, very simple things that we do with the core. And I'll bring you just down here to show you that. So on here, the sorts of things that we use are things like this. One of the things that I'm really pleased about is that no one who's been on the YBMB program has ever hurt themselves. They've never had an injury. They've never not been able to train because they've hurt themselves. And the reason for that is that I am so specific with them on their technique. So, you know, getting them to really think about what part of the body they're working and the mind-muscle connection, as we call it, and then really squeezing that muscle and only thinking about that muscle. I'm also very careful, and so is my team as well, because my team also gets involved in training, very careful about making sure that people are set up properly before they start the exercise. And in that way, what you find is that people just don't hurt themselves because they're doing it properly. So I'll show you here some core exercises, which might be different to what you've experienced before with a crunch. So this little pad here, it's about £15 from Amazon. But it's an amazing little thing. You should pop it there, just sort of behind your bum. And then when you lean down like this, you've got this nice natural arch in your back. And so then when you want to do a crunch, really, all you've got to do is think about closing your ribs and your hips and blowing out the air like this. So, and down, really squeezing your abs, and down. And then you can rock as well after 10 of those. And that's what we do. So we'd be 10 up and down, holding for 10 pulses, and that would be one round. And we'll probably do 3 rounds of that. So that's how we work. One of the ways we work the abs anyway. Another way is obviously planks. And I'm sure you're familiar with planks. We do a minute on the front. We obviously do a minute on the side as well. And we just count the planks. And it's generally how we finish. And all the way through the workouts, what I tend to be doing is asking people, you know, what they've eaten, what they're planning to eat, what their macros are, how they're feeling, what their sleep's like, what their water's like, etc. So it is all, you know, it's a multi-faceted approach that we have to the body. So that gives you just an idea of a workout. I mean, at the end of my workouts with my team, we run workouts every single day on the YBMB program, two a day in fact. What I am not really interested in doing is, you know, killing someone in a workout so that they're exhausted and they feel like they've done a load. It's not about that. It's about very specifically working muscles. And that's how you get the shape that you want, you know, the sort of the toned physique, the strong physique. And although people want to think that it is, you know, complicated foods or special powders or vinegar drinks or, you know, HIIT or intermittent fasting and all of these things, it isn't. It's about being very clear about your calorie requirement, what is a deficit so that you can actually start to lose body fat, the right combinations of carbs, fats, proteins, that's the nutrition. And then you basically complement that with a well thought out training program, which at the end of it, so I've just sort of shown you a couple of moves within each one, but at the end of it, if you've worked out 45 minutes or an hour, you would have really worked your whole body. And all you've got to do is do that 3 or 4 times a week. And gradually, and I know because I'm obviously a walking example of it, and so many people have been on my YBMB program, you know, you lose the body fat, you reveal this body underneath that you forgot you had or that you've never had, and you feel so much physically better and stronger. And obviously then, once we've taught that, we go on to doing exactly the same with mindset. We teach the mindset exercises. They are, again, very well thought out processes. Sounds weird, but it is mindset exercises. And that makes people not just physically strong, but mentally strong. And it's once those 2 things are in place that we then move on to the business plans. And that's why it's called Your Body Means Business. So I hope you've enjoyed this little live workout. It's taken about 20 minutes, as I say. Sorry about the background noise, but if anyone was like a little bit concerned about what we do and maybe thought, you know, it's going to be too difficult for them, hopefully that's reassured you. And those of you who maybe think, you know, it's not going to be difficult enough, what I would say to you is with a hip thrust, I weigh 49 kgs myself, and I'm hip thrusting 120 kgs. I can, when I'm squatting, I can squat 70 kgs. So these moves make you progressively stronger and stronger and stronger. And, you know, there's really nothing more secret to it than that. You do need to know the technique. That's what we teach you on the YBMB program. So thank you for listening. Lovely to speak to you. And I'll just put my cap on to say goodbye. And you get one of these if you join as well. So please do join. There'll be a link in the notes. And have a good day and Happy New Year again.